Hello everyone, Happy New Week. My name is Paulina and this week we will study lesson 12, the ministry of the new covenant. Memory text. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. Hebrews 8:10. The new covenant was established upon better promises, the promises of forgiveness of sins and of the grace of God to renew the heart and bring it to harmony with the principles of God's law. A covenant, a sacred agreement between God and his people. On Sunday, we will study about the Old Covenant. When the Ten Commandments were proclaimed at Mount Sinai, what promises did the people of Israel make? We have the people of Israel coming out from Egypt, from slavery, more than 400 years. And God wants to make a covenant with them. And they are so used to the gods from Egypt. God for water, God for rain, the pagan gods. And they knew that to please these gods, you have to make sacrifices, you have to do whatever they said to be pleased. And with this attitude, they entered in the covenant with God. And they said in Exodus 19:8, and all the people answered together, all that the Lord said we will do, and be obedient. And the note said the people did not realize the sinfulness of their own hearts, and that without Christ it was impossible for them to keep God's law. Question B. What were the terms of the covenant established at Sinai? Ezekiel 12:11 said, Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my commandments, he shall live in them. And Deuteronomy 27:26 said that cursed be he that confirmeth not to do them. We see the terms. If you obey, you will receive blessings. If you do not keep the commandments, you will be cursed. Point C. Where did God write the Ten Commandments, and why couldn't the people fulfill their pledges? In Exodus 31:18, we have the Bible verse that said that God writes the Ten Commandments on the tables of stone, 2 tables of stone. And Romans 10:3 and 9:30-32, we have some Bible verses that tells us that for they, being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, not submitting themselves unto the righteousness of God. This is the key. The note said that the priests and rulers thought their own righteousness all sufficient and did not desire that a new element should be brought into their religion. This is the key. Their own mentality was that they should do everything that they can to fulfill and to keep the commandments. And the law of God is holy, and we cannot keep it holy. We cannot keep the commandments of God. And this was the mistake in the Old Covenant, that they thought that they could do it. This was the problem. The Old Covenant was based on people's promises. They said, all that God asked us to do, we will do. Comparing with the New Covenant that Jesus said, I will make them my people. I will put my laws in their hearts. It's based on his promises. Actually, God didn't have an intention to have an old covenant, new covenant. He just want to have a covenant with his people. But because the people, they're not prepared, they didn't understand God's character, they entered in the covenant with God with this mentality that they have to do everything that they can to please God and to be in peace with God. And because of this condition, God has to meet them on their level. And actually, the first covenant that he made with Abraham was by faith. Abraham was considered by faith the child of God. But now we see that God has to meet the people of Israel at their level and to establish this covenant that he knew that is not gonna please and he's not gonna work, but the people had to have this experience with the Lord and understand that without God we cannot do anything. We can do anything. And even today, when we live in the under new covenant, because Jesus came and he is the priest and he is working in heaven for us, and he is preparing the place for us and preparing our heart to receive his law in our hearts, we still can be under the old covenant thinking that we can do it and trying to do our best to please God and to be right with God and trying the impossibility. Only through Jesus Christ we can keep the law of God and we can be in peace with God. If he is in our heart, he is the one who keeps the commandments of God. May God help us to understand that in our power we can do anything better, any better. Only Jesus in our hearts. And to live under the new covenant, to let him be our God and live in our heart every day.